Hello everyone, this is Susanna from Hold It Right There Sewing Patterns. Welcome back to my video tutorial series for my sewing pattern, the Ember Crossbody. To make the Ember Crossbody, please purchase the sewing pattern from the website linked below. In the second video in the series, I cover the unique features of the sewing pattern and walk you through preparing your fabric and interfacing. There are 3 ways to cut out the pieces for your Ember Crossbody bag. You can print out paper pattern pieces. You can use the cutting chart dimensions included, or if you have a cutting machine, you can use the SVG files to cut out your bag pieces. Whether you are using a cutting machine or printing paper pattern pieces, be sure to use the test square and measure it to ensure the accuracy of the size. To avoid printing errors, always be sure that you save your PDF file first, then print from the saved PDF. Do not print directly from the download, as this can cause printing errors in the size. You will need to join your paper pattern pieces together, matching where marked, and then use glue or tape to connect them. For the paper pattern pieces, you will follow the solid lines marked for fabric and either the solid or the dashed lines indicated for interfacing. Some of the interfacing is cut smaller than the fabric to reduce bulk in the seam allowances. For interfacing pattern pieces, I've printed a duplicate set and I'm cutting along the dashed lines. I like to use colored paper for this so that it stands out against the white interfacing and is easier for me to cut around. As I mentioned, there is a cutting chart included in this pattern, and you'll find it on page 17. Even if you're using SVG files or paper pattern pieces, I do recommend printing out this sheet. It provides the dimensions and designates which interfacings belong with which fabric pieces, but it's also a handy checklist to use for your project. To keep all of your pieces organized, print out the labels on page 18 and then pin or clip them to your cut pieces. Besides your fabric and interfacing, there are several pieces of ultra-firm stabilizer that you will need to cut out. You will find the dimensions for these listed on the cutting chart on page 17. You will also need to prepare your webbing for the strap, and again, refer to the cutting chart for the dimensions. With all of the pieces cut out, we will now fuse the interfacing. I do want to make a note that we will omit interfacing if you are using waterproof canvas or waxed canvas. Set aside the fabric and interfacing for zipper casing K. This will be interfaced later as instructed. In this video tutorial, I am using quilting cotton for the zipper casing. In my pattern instructions, I used canvas. Both worked beautifully. Thicker material like upholstery fabric or marine vinyl may be challenging to use, so I recommend using something thinner for the zipper casing. Refer to your pattern instructions and fuse the interfacing that is the same size as the pattern pieces listed. I will now fuse a second layer of interfacing to the pieces noted in your instructions. So with the piece wrong side up, center the second smaller layer of interfacing directly on top of the previously fused interfacing. There is a frame without interfacing to reduce bulk in the seam allowances. Fuse the second layer just as you did the first, and then set aside these pieces for now. You will now need the lining slip pocket I fabric 1 piece only and zipper stop L. Place the fabric wrong side up. Center the interfacing. There is a frame without interfacing on all sides to reduce the bulk in the seam allowance. Center the interfacing on the wrong side of L, just as you did for I. Fuse it according to manufacturer's instructions, and then you can set aside these pieces for now. All of our fabric and interfacing is now prepared, and before we move on to the next video and begin sewing, we have one final step. Locate the paper pattern piece for exterior zipper pocket facing E1. Carefully cut out the curved zipper window in the paper pattern piece where marked. We're going to use this as a template to trace the stitching of the zipper window in the next step. I've printed out this piece on cardstock since I will be using it to trace, and I just find that helpful. All of our pieces are now prepared and we're ready to sew. Join me in the next video as we create the bag exterior. Thanks for watching. Happy sewing.